Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Mismatch. So many people, I feel like, spend their lives chasing success, thinking that once they make it, they can finally feel fulfilled. But I think there's more women today that are really redefining what success actually means. Because it's not just building wealth or a career. It's about building a life that feels purposeful and aligned with impact. Today's guest, Shay Invidia, knows that world very well and leads with example. With over 15 years in luxury real estate, she helped scale one of Canada's top performing real estate teams to more than $6 billion in career sales. It's very impressive. She's also a TEDx speaker and founder of anti-human trafficking organization FreeThem, which is an amazing organization. I can't wait to talk to her more about it. She's also an advocate for wellness, purpose-driven business, and helping women build lives rooted in both impact and financial success. Both those things. I think a lot of people ask themselves, can ambition and purpose coexist? Do you have to sacrifice one thing for the other? And well, today we're talking about success, purpose, wellness, relationships, and what it actually means to create a life and legacy that actually matters. Shay.
Hello.
How's it going, lady?
Oh, it's so nice to be here and see you.
I'm so happy to see you. Yeah. The very first time I met you was on a runway.
That's true.
Funny enough that not too many people can say that about somebody.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing your story and just being like, wow, this woman does it all. Like literally. Yeah. Like how, so I guess let me ask you, like, you know, how did you manage to find a career where you make money, but then also do something with purpose?
Yeah. Well, if you want the honest truth.
I do.
Yeah. So I'm in real estate, as you know, but that was not my vision. It kind of happened, not that it happened by accident. We have business in Italy. My parents were partners, still are, but partners with 3 other couples that started RE/MAX in Italy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, kind of cool. And actually not a lot of people know that.
I didn't know
it's
that.
It's not something I talk about too often. And so my thought process back then when I was in my 20-somethings was, I don't want to be a realtor. I don't want to be in real estate, but I would move to Italy someday.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
I want to move to Italy someday. So I thought, and I was actually in fashion retail at that time. I helped to open up the H&M that was in Oakville. I was living in Vancouver and I came here because my dad's dad, my nono, was sick. And they were opening up the H&M there. So I was like, okay, you know what? Transfer me. I'll help open that up. And then I can be at home for my dad. Well, it got to this point where I was like, this seems really silly that I'm making this other company money when I'm literally in my backyard and I don't have my real estate license. I only know the industry through my father, but I don't know it, like boots on the ground. And if I ever want to live in Italy one day to maybe, I don't know, be a realtor there or be involved in that business, maybe I should get my real estate license. So that's actually why I got into it. And because I wasn't, I'm going to say, passionate about becoming a realtor, I wanted to do something that like lit my heart up. And at that time, and it's, much longer story, but just contextually, this is probably around 2008, the crash in real estate, but around 2008, 2009. And I had, lived in Hawaii, which I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
But like lived in Hawaii, lived in Vancouver, lived in Australia, and this topic of human trafficking kept finding me. And that became my heartbeat around like, what are we doing in Canada to really realize we're not doing much in Canada? And so I felt from the beginning that it was like, okay, if I'm going to make money, and I don't really love actually the idea of being a realtor. I had this dream of being a fashion photographer in New York City. I was going to get my white 3 Series BMW, white on black. That was my thing. And I got the BMW.
Yes.
Yes. Maybe that's a little more important. I got the BMW, but I didn't pursue New York. I didn't pursue that dream. And so I was like, okay, I want to do something that makes me feel like I'm fulfilled and I have purpose and I'm giving back. And that's where I came up with this idea from a very young age as a motto for myself, to make money with a purpose. And I still talk about that. There's many people that are in a vocation that they don't really care for, or they're in a corporate job that they don't like. And I have a very different viewpoint now on that, you know, like life is too short. You should be really doing something that lights you up. But if you can't, if you find yourself in that position of, you know, I've been here for 10 years. It's like, well, what can you do to bridge that gap and to actually merge those worlds together so that you are making your money and now it has a bigger purpose. There's more meaning behind it because you're doing something with it. Like I think a lot of people think, I'm going to, you know, go to school, you get yourself in debt, maybe you find a partner, maybe you have kids, you know, you build your career as an entrepreneur or you climb the corporate ladder. And then when you're in your 50-somethings, that's when you become the philanthropist. That's when you start giving back.
Right.
And I'm like, you can do that now.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to wait for a level of success to contribute and give back. You can do what you can with what you've already been given. And so that kind of was my journey. When I was like 25, I started out in real estate and I started an initiative to fight human trafficking, which today is called FreeThem, is my nonprofit organization that you've been a huge supporter of over the years. And I had no idea it was going to snowball into this like thing. It was like literally just this initiative. And yeah, that's kind of what I did.
I love that you say like bridge the gap because I think even often people think that the two things have to be so separate. It's like you have your hobby or your interest or your passion and purpose, and then you have the thing that like makes you money.
Right.
And it's like more people should be of the mindset of like, how do I bring those two together instead of just having them separate?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's hard to do. I know it's hard to do because not too often are the things that like light up your heart are the things that make you the most amount of money.
Yeah.
And life is expensive and hard. It's
stressful. Hell of expensive, especially if you're living in Canada with these taxes.
Living in Canada with these taxes and the gas prices.
I know. And
now I sound like I'm 100 years old, but really it's a thing.
No, you sound smart. That's what you sound like. You sound like you're conscious about money and the value of our dollar, how it's not carrying how it used to.
Yeah.
And I mean, fun fact, not fun for us, but Canada has the highest cost of food on the entire planet. Like, it's wild when you really think about that and you break it down. We have
we can grow so much here. That's what is wild to me is that we have such diverse landscape that we have the ability to grow so much here.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Right?
Yeah. So it's wild. And, you know, I think this is the importance of finding something that you love that like makes your heart sing. And because when you bring those two together and you know that when you go to work, that the more, and it's not about the harder you work, because if that was the secret sauce to success, the middle class wouldn't exist.
100%.
The middle class is some of the hardest working people you'll ever meet, right?
100%.
Like 2, 3, 5 jobs, like around the clock. So that's not the secret sauce. But if you can find something that you love, and even as you're working, it starts to change your approach and your perspective of it, because you know that what you're putting into your work and what you get out for your money, that it is having a greater impact beyond you sitting at that desk or beyond you going into that office that you don't really love. It's like, but look what you're able to do. And there's a ripple effect for that.
Yeah.
Right?
100% there's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
I mean, you're pretty wise, and I know you have your podcast as well,
Yeah.
The Wealthy CEO. Is this like a mentality that you feel like you've developed over time based on your own experience, or is this in like chatting with a lot of other like CEOs, people who make a lot of money?
It's a really great question. Nobody's ever asked me that.
Haha, I knew I'd find one.
Yeah, nobody's ever asked me that. So you're going to get, you know, an answer that nobody's ever gotten. When I was probably 15 or 16 years old, so I was in high school, the Kilberg brothers, who's Me to We, which was like a really big thing when like I was in my 20s, right? Like they exploded, and there was We Day everywhere, not just in Canada. I remember being as like a 15, 16-year-old, they were not that much older than me. I think they're about 5 years older than me. That when they were 12, they had seen some, and don't quote me on this, I might get the story wrong, but this is my recollection of when I was a kid. But they had seen a news article about kids in, you know, whether it was in Africa or in, you know, unfortunate circumstances. And as 12, 13-year-olds, they felt that they could do something about it. And they were on this mission to change the world. And I remember thinking back then, like, it's a proof of concept. Like, if they can do that, I can do that, right? Like, if they did it, I can do that too. And so I remember from a young age, and I used to work in orphanages in Venezuela all throughout high school. I went down there. Yeah, I went down to work. I did 3 or 4 different trips. And when I was 17, I led a trip myself, which is actually batshit wild. Like,
That's
I was
so young.
and like my parents,
They
God
must have
bless,
been freaking out.
well, and like, I mean, I think they had like unwavering faith in God that like I'm on this mission, quite literally, and like God has me covered. And not only did my parents let me go as a 17-year-old, other parents let me take their children who were younger than me, like maybe only about a year, but still like 15, 16, 17-year-old, and we're all going to Venezuela, which is not a first world country, communist structure. Like, and
there's a lot that could go wrong.
A lot that can go wrong. Yeah. You know? And so, but all that to say, like, this is what I was doing in high school. Like, I did inner city missions trip when I went to Chicago, grade 7, grade 8, like, again, going down with like, you know, leaders, but like there was like a van full of us. And so from a very young age, I really had this desire to be able to give back. I really felt, I believe, and I still do today, it's another motto of mine is that we're blessed to be a blessing. And that comes with great responsibility. Like, if you are given much, much is expected from us, you know, and the more you give, the more you actually receive. And so
For sure.
So part of it, you know, was this like mentality was also because of what I witnessed, you know, from a young age, and also to my parents. Like, we used to go down, you know, we traveled lots when we were younger, and going to Jamaica or Barbados or wherever, and you would see, you know, all the kids running with no shoes on. And we would always go down and bring like clothes and like, you know, toys or whatever, you know. And so it was just part of my ecosystem of like, you know, giving back and blessing and knowing that like I can make a difference, even if it's just to the one kid, giving clothes or a backpack or a meal. I used to go down and feed the homeless all the time as well in Toronto. I would bring everybody over to my house. We'd make sandwiches and lunch bags and then go down to Toronto and like hand them out to people. And so it's like, are you making this massive difference doing a wee day? No, I wasn't creating a wee day, but I was doing what I could with what I had at the time.
Yeah.
You know? And so that was like embedded in me. And I think as a child, we're so impressionable as children, right? And so whatever you tell a child, they will, for argument's sake, will believe it, right? So if you tell a 12, 13-year-old, like the brothers, you can do that and you'll change the world, they believe you. And then that's it. That's their truth. They're going to be on that path. And my parents always supported me in that. Like, my dad was like, you know, whatever you want to do, if you put your mind to it, you'll be able to do it. And he's right, you know? And so I carried that part going into my 20s. And I really had this like unwavering, maybe borderline delusional idea that like I could fight human trafficking and like we could like change the world like doing it, and I could make money at the same time, and we could be a non-for-profit organization with everyone being voluntary, taking no money. Like that was a big thing for me. I wanted to prove to myself, really, it wasn't like a public thing, but I think people think like you have to be being paid in that line of work in order for an organization to exist, to function, to make a difference.
Right.
And I was like, no, I have like a full-time team on full-time dedication, and everyone has their own careers, job, vocation, you know? And, you know, as you know, we've done incredible things in this country.
Incredible things. Can you tell people the things that you've done?
Sure. So because we're a nonprofit organization, distinctively, like I decided not to register as a charity because you're limited on how much advocacy and government work that you can do.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like we can't be involved with like policy, government work. You know, if you wanted to do like creating a new bill and getting petitions from people, you're limited to 5% of your total resources. So that means your volunteers, your website space, going out to events, hosting events, and if there's any political part, you're capped at 5%. So you're very limited as a charity. The silver lining to that, the catch, is that that's where your tax receipts are. So in a nonprofit structure, we don't have that. we can receive donations, but we can't issue tax receipts.
Got it.
And so it's that fine line where a lot of people will go to charities because they're
getting
to give
it back.
the tax receipt. We structure it different, like with companies, just as a little like tip for anybody maybe curious or listening or wanting to do something like this. We issue promotional expense receipts so that companies can actually get the full tax deduction on their business if you come on as a sponsor.
Perfect. There you
which
go.
actually is better than a tax receipt.
Way better.
Because you only get it up to a certain percentage, right?
Exactly.
So if you know business and you know how to structure things, that's how you can do it. And it's completely legal. And it's the exchange for the money for promotional services, right? They're a sponsor and we put them everywhere.
Right.
So that's kind of how we got around it. But we were so entrenched with policy, and today, like we've helped to amend the Criminal Code of Canada 3 times, which means federal new legislation in Canada that's law. And anything that you see come out of the city of Toronto, like we were a stakeholder, we were the first organization to actually bring to the city a 40-page document to say we have a human trafficking problem. This is what it means. This is what it looks like. This is what the city needs to start doing. And we were pushed out of the office first. I'll never forget. Her name's Felicia, and she's fine with me like sharing this story. She's this strong Caribbean woman. And I remember me and my team, there's like 4 of us that went in there to present this proposal. And she just kind of looked at me like, who are you all? Like, this is like, you guys are crazy.
Yeah.
She kind of like, gave me a little cut-eye, little attitude and was like, the door's over there. Like, you just wasted tax dollars time because you're in the office and like, whatever. I just said to her, I know it's a lot to digest. I know it sounds hard to believe. Just read it. Just promise me you'll read it. We'll leave your office. Just promise me you'll read it. She didn't say yes or no, but we left. And literally a week later, she asked us to come back and now actually meet with the deputy mayor's office.
Wow.
And so this is where it started in Toronto. Came through my team. It wasn't my idea to put the proposal together for the city. I won't take credit for that, but it was one of my team members. And we worked day and night on this 40-page proposal. It's wild and crazy. So anything now you see out of Toronto, we've got so many stakeholders. There's, I don't know, maybe like 50 stakeholders now of different organizations and representations and people who do different things and frontline services that are dealing directly with victims versus rescue homes. The Rogers home is one of them that we helped to appoint at Covenant House in Toronto that, we got Suzanne Rogers and her people involved with that. So, so many cool ripple effect things have come out of that from one idea of somebody on my team being like, I have this idea,
That's wild.
Yeah.
If I can go back, I know you said that you were exposed to human trafficking and what that looks like in other places. What made you take a closer look at why it was happening here and how it was happening here? Because again, and I reiterate this, when anyone ever asks me about FreeThem and I talk about it, it's like nobody really knows or understands how that happens here.
Yeah. So I was going to save this for those listening. Nicole is coming on my podcast as well. And so I was going to announce this on my podcast, but I'll do it on yours instead.
We'll release at the same time.
Yeah, we'll do. So another fun fact, I don't know if you know this. I don't think I knew this about you, but we both went to the same university, Hawaii Pacific.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Well, when you said Hawaii, I was like, I wonder when she was there.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, literally.
The same time?
Yeah, both HPU girls.
Stop it. I don't know anybody. It was like,
I know.
How did we not
So what year were you?
Oh, God. I was 2000. I think I want to say it was either 2009 or 2010.
Okay, yeah, because you's a bit younger than me.
I don't.
Yeah, you's a bit younger than me. So I went there in 2003 to 2006.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
we
to
just missed
share
each
how
other.
much older I am
than
the beautiful
folks
Nicole.
who are watching are like, I don't see that at all.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. And another fun fact is HPU is a private school in the United States. And so it's not Ivy League, but it's not a public, university. So it's really great. Had good scholarship opportunities.
Yeah. I was on scholarship.
You got scholarship.
Yeah.
I got scholarship.
What was your scholarship?
I think I was 80% or 85%.
No, but for what? academic.
My brain.
Wow,
my
so
brain.
impressive. See, I got it from my athletic ability.
Yeah, she did. We didn't have a football team, but we had a dance team,
Yeah.
and they were like the thing in all of the U.S.
We were NCAA champs for like 10 years in a row. And in my year was the first year that we competed in 2 categories. So we were 2-time NCAA
I love
champs.
it. Yeah. So
That's so funny.
Yes.
Oh my God. I love this.
Okay, and Nicole and I, we've known each other for over 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's wild that only because we're having
Yeah.
each other on the podcast, I'm
Yeah.
like reading your bio and I'm like, dance scholarship to Hawaii Pacific University. I'm like, what? How do we not know this before?
That's crazy
Isn't
to
it?
me.
It's so crazy.
You know why? Because we haven't done this before.
That's true.
We haven't had an
That's
opportunity
true.
to do this.
Yeah.
But that's what a small world. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
So as you know,
Yes.
if you went to HPU, Hawaii Pacific University, there's 2 dorms.
Yes.
One on the leeward side, one on the downtown side, which is in Waikiki.
That's where I lived.
That's where I live.
Oh, girl. We've seen some stuff
we've
down
seen-
there.
Well, this is where it started.
Stop it.
Because the Ohana Surfrider Hotel,
That's where I stay.
Right?
I lived there. Yep.
that was our dorm. Half operated as a hotel. The other half was for the students.
Student housing.
And it's if you've been to Waikiki, there's 3 main roads that parallel the ocean. There's Kalakaua, Kuhio Avenue, and then the Alawai, which is on the canal, right? And if you stay there long enough, Kuhio Avenue is also known as Candy Lane because this is where the girls would walk the track.
I would literally fall asleep to women screaming at one another
Yeah.
on the road,
Yeah.
being like, bitch, you took my man. Like, it was literally like, and I would just, I couldn't believe it. I remember my mom when she dropped me off because she came to get me settled.
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm leaving you here at 17.
My parents had the exact same reaction.
Yeah.
Like, it's wild. So this is even more crazy because you can speak to what I saw.
Yeah.
Because you saw the same thing.
Yeah.
And some of the women actually still would have been there when you were there. I don't know if did you ever meet any of these girls?
I didn't. I'm not going to lie to you.
So
I didn't.
We won't go down that path. But what I wanted to understand was, so there's this, on Kuhio Avenue, and it wraps. It starts on Kalakaua on the main strip. It goes through the international market. Like when you go on the other side, it's kind of like that, by Denny's and the clubs and all of that.
Yep.
And what I started noticing is that, during the day you see families with their surfboards and bathing suits, bikinis walking around. And
people walk around barefoot.
Barefoot, exactly, right? And as soon as nighttime would start to happen, it was like the bikini stayed and just high heels came on the bikinis. And I was 18 at the time, and I would see girls that were evidently younger than me, like 14, 15, 16 years old. And you and I both know, like, a girl who's 14 maybe is more developed than somebody else, even if they're not. You put on red lipstick and a pair of mom high heels,
100%.
and you look 18, 19, 20, right? And because I would literally see them when I would wake up in the morning at 6 a.m. to go for a surf, and I'd still see the girls there coming home from my night classes, coming home from the club at 3 a.m., I would still see them. It was like they were always there. I had 2 decisions. One, just keep walking by them. Like, they don't matter. I just ignore them. Maybe lifestyle decision. I don't care for. I judge them in my head about that, and I move on. Or no different than the same coffee shop that you and I go to every single day at the same time, or the gym that you go to at the same time. Eventually, you see the same people, and eventually you do like a head nod, half smile, then it's good morning, then it's have a good workout. How was your workout? Then you start having like micro conversations before actually being like, hey, I see you all the time. Maybe we should grab coffee. Like, maybe we should, what's your Instagram? Like, now, right? So I decided that I was just going to acknowledge them. I walk by them all the time. And that was the gateway. That's like what started things for me, where I questioned why. Like, why would a girl choose to do this? I had a very strong faith myself growing up. And so you could say naturally I had a bias, a predisposition that what they're doing is wrong. I didn't care about that. I really put that aside because I wanted to actually understand. And I think like when you're having hard conversations, especially in today's day and age, like if you truly want to understand, the person that you disagree with, you have to be willing to listen. You
Oh,
have
yeah.
to be willing
there needs to be willingness to be open-minded and hear
100%.
someone out.
And
But
hear their perspective.
I admire that so much because I was the person that walked by. Honest to God, I didn't think anything of it, and I previously thought like these are choices that these people are making,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's also ignorance and like lack of education and awareness, honestly. But like now it would be a very different story, and I I have so much respect for you asking that question at that age, at that point in your life. Sorry, continue.
No. I think this is it's actually really wild that we both have lived the same experience, like the same location, same school, same dorm, and the different lenses. And one is not right or wrong. It's just different.
Yeah.
And majority of people, and this is why I wanted to ask the question, because majority of people would do what you did.
Yeah.
You don't like something, it's like, okay, just like don't ask questions, look the other way, don't get involved. Like that's normal for majority of people.
Yeah.
I just really wanted to understand, and when I started, and it's a much longer conversation story, but you remember the Starbucks that's attached to the hotel?
Mm-hmm.
At night, or sorry, not at night, on the weekends, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that Starbucks would stay open till 1 a.m. I don't know if you recall that.
Yeah, I do.
And so on Thursdays and Fridays, I committed consistency. I committed that every Thursday and Friday I think I did it for like 2 months. I would go in and study, meet with my friends, whatever. We would hang out there for a couple of hours, not all night, just like a couple of hours. And I would give my credit card to the barista. And I just said, any girl that looks the part, give her, just pay whatever she orders. If it's one shot of espresso or 10 or food, just pay for it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be pointed out. If they ask, you can say that girl over there, but I don't need to know, like they don't need to know why and who and why, right? That consistency over time started to pique the interest and also offend some of the women,
Really?
Yeah. Like I'd be like, why like I can pay, you have so many of these girls coming in where they're pimp, they're trafficker. Okay. I'll just call it what it actually is, quote unquote, their boyfriend, but their trafficker, their pimp is buying their S-Class, nails always done, makeup on point, Gucci, Louis Vuitton this, Chanel that. Like they're decked out when they're walking on this strip, right?
Yeah.
Like Waikiki is a very expensive place.
Yeah, it's not
so
cheap.
This is not like, Walmart style. Like you got to look the
It's not
part.
a Walmart
right?
parking lot.
No, it's not. Exactly,
Yeah.
right? So you would see these girls with like their Chanel this and their Gucci that, and they'd be like looking at me being like, and at the time, I think I had just dreaded my hair. I used to have dreadlocks.
No
Fun
way.
fact.
You're so cool. You're so cool.
So for argument's sake, I probably looked like a bit of a bum in Starbucks. And she's like, girl, like, I look like I need to help you, right? Not like, what are you paying for me for?
You need more help than I do.
I'm sure that came across a few, like, look at you and look at me. My nails are not done. I don't have a Gucci this. I'm probably in board shorts, and dreadlocked. And I had some girls being like, I don't need you to do that. I'm like, okay, I'm just blessing. That's all I'm here to do, And eventually that consistency over time became my invitation to learn their stories and learn about the boyfriend that promised them a dream vacation of a lifetime, and it turned into their actual living nightmare, to the forced abortions, the forced augmentation procedures of being forced to get breast implants because they've got to look a certain part, to the modeling agencies that didn't exist when they showed up, to the pimps taking their kids to school. Like this one girl, it was Classy, it was her name. She's like, he picks up my son and I'm on an island. This isn't like you're in California and you can cross your fingers that you can like get on a train, hop a bus and like, go 100 miles, 500,000 miles away. Like you're on an ocean island. Like you got to be on a plane, passport or ID, right? So when you don't have those things, it's very, very, very hard to escape. And so what I learned back then, I did not learn the word human trafficking until probably 6 years later. I was just describing what this big word was and understanding that these girls were lured, they were coerced, they're under a form of duress, that they're being forced to be there. And what I learned that the word prostitute that we equate so much with choice is widely misrepresented. And that the more accurate word to be using was prostituted. Like they were being forced to do this. And also like looking back on it now, you know, and I have said this for the last 20 years basically, is that no child chooses to be in this. You know, it is not, it's a lack of choice. And also that circumstance chose them, whether they were sexually abused and then they got lured thinking it was like a boyfriend figure. There's a lot of blackmail. There's a lot of manipulation. There's a lot of fear, a lot of family tactics of like, if you don't do this, we know where your sister lives. We know where your mom lives. There's a lot of fear that is wrapped in that. And the average girl in forced prostitution today in Canada and the United States is 13 years old.
Oh my God.
So when you see those girls there,
I have goosebumps. That's just.
Yeah. And that's the average. And to have it that low means there's
younger.
And a lot of them to keep that number low, right? So when you think of like Hawaii and what we saw, it's like the average age of rescue is 17. So usually there's at least 3-4 years.
Yeah, but how much trauma is accumulated during that time?
Yeah. And it only takes once.
Yeah.
Only once.
Yeah.
It's like you will never be the same after once.
No.
You know, so. And yeah, 365, the body can be rented for, on average, it's about 12 times a day. Yeah, times 365. And just the damage that does to your pelvic floor, like all kinds of things, right? So that's where my journey started. And when I heard their stories, I just said, okay, these girls, they're not choosing this. And if I was in her position, I would want people to see me as a victim and not as she made horrible decisions. She's a whore. She like survival of the fittest, which I even think that's such a lousy and really shitty thing that we as a society have even allowed that as like, well, it's your last resort. Have you tried this? It's like we as like governments have failed our daughters of our nations. If that's even supposed to be an option, right? Like supposed to be, well, you haven't tried everything, like stripping or whatever, right? Like it should never have to get to that point. But that's not even what was happening here. It was like the majority of these girls, you know, like they're being forced into this. And I wanted to amplify their voices. I don't believe in the voice for the voiceless. That's a very like charity slogan that raises money, and I don't like that. I really believe we all have a voice. Theirs was being silenced, and me learning the truth of their stories, I wanted to amplify their voices. And I knew that as long as I had a voice for the rest of my life, and back then I was like 18, 19 years old, 20 years old, I had no idea what it was going to amount to. Like, you know, even the idea of an initiative back then, that was not in my brain. It wasn't a part of my vision. It was like, I'm going to university, and then I transferred to UBC, and I graduated at UBC, but I did my last semester in Australia. And this whole topic.
Where did you go in Australia?
I know, I read that actually. Melbourne for you, right? I went to U of Sydney.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was in Sydney. I was like, oh, this is like super close. I know, I read that actually. Yeah, yeah.
We've lived very parallel lives.
I know,
it's so weird.
Yeah, yeah.
That's wild. Okay, so sorry, I interrupted you.
No.
When you graduated, so when did all this kind of come? Because I imagine then this is something that you were taking notice to throughout school.
Yeah.
As you moved too in different places.
As I moved. So like anybody, if you've been to Vancouver, you know.
Just recently I did. It's beautiful. And oh my God, what's that? Hastings?
Yeah. Yeah. East Hastings. Yeah. Yeah. Downtown East Side.
I've never seen anything like that. I literally was there last week.
Okay, so give us an update. What is East Hastings? What did you see?
Okay, East Hastings in Vancouver is a street where you will literally see The Walking Dead. Like,
great description.
When I say people keeled over, and we see that in Toronto, you obviously know people are on drugs.
Yeah.
But I've never seen the amount of people condensed to a few blocks.
Yeah.
And how, like, I was driving through there and I was like, oh my God, these poor people.
Yeah.
And I was told that there are more initiatives being put in place in buildings and homes to offer support and for these people. But my question was, as I was driving through, how did it get like this?
Yeah.
Like, how did it become this, that now they're trying to fix a problem that shouldn't have even been a problem to begin with? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was, I legitimately felt like uncomfortable
in
a car like driving through it.
Yeah.
Because, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I've never seen anything like that ever.
Yeah. And it's very black and white. Like there is a street on either end that's bookend, and it's like you're in a completely different world once you cross that street.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when I was like, why don't you describe it? You were just there. I haven't been to Vancouver, probably in about 6 years now. And it only ever gets worse and worse. And I grew up going to Vancouver. My godparents were from White Rock, and we used to go snowboarding and skiing, like, on the Banff side, but then going to Whistler a lot. So I had seen the downtown east side growing up. I've seen how it's gotten worse, and the problem. And then, of course, like when I moved there, this is around like 2006, I saw it completely different. It was like, you can't unsee something. Once you see something and you know what you're looking for, especially like in pertaining to human trafficking, you just like can't unsee it. So the first time I went to the downtown east side, I was like, oh my God, like this is what's going on down here. This is like where these girls are being forced, they're pushed here, and I wanted to understand at that point what Canada was doing. And so that's where I started going, like, we have this problem here. It's not just in the United States. Mm-hmm. I'm Canadian, lived in the US, two of the freest nations on the planet. How is this happening? Like slavery literally right in front of you. And you're not allowed to skateboard on the sidewalks in Waikiki, and there are police officers that stand on the sidewalk, and you literally have a half-naked 14-year-old girl right beside police officers, and they do fuck all. Mm-hmm. It's like, how that picture, like how does that exist? But you're standing there giving tickets for skateboarding?
That was my exact question. I was like, I just don't understand why no one's helping or doing anything and just allowing. Like, I literally saw people smoking meth on the street. I'm like, how is this possible? And no one's doing anything to help these poor people.
I know. Yeah, it's wild. And I mean, it's a much more deeper, longer tin hat conversation we could have if you want to go there as to why. It begs the question, like, when we know better, we should do better. And so when we know better and we don't do better, why is that? And you have to follow the money. You have to follow what's the goal and what is the agenda. No different than human trafficking. When I first started fighting in this advocacy fight, there was 27 million people in global slavery today. And it's a very different organizations that are highly credible, like Tim Ballard in the United States, A21 with Christine Kane, who's out of Australia. There's different numbers that float around, whether that's 40 million, 50 million or 100 million. I know that's a massive difference. Conservatively, you could say that there's over 45 million people in global slavery today.
That's the numbers, way too many freaking people.
It's our whole population of Canada. Imagine all of Canada was enslaved. Everybody. My God. Men, women, children, all of us in Canada are in some form of slavery, sexual exploitation, forced labor, organ trafficking, where babies are being literally raised as cattle for their organs, debt bondage, chattel bondage. There's all the different forms of human trafficking, the two most prevalent, sexual exploitation, forced labor. And everyone in Canada is enslaved. If we know better, that number should have gone from 27 to 20 to 18. Like, we should be going down. But we're going up. So it begs the question as to why and how that's happening.
Why and how?
Which is that's a whole other episode.
It's a whole other episode.
This is what I will say to people, because you should go down the rabbit hole, and not the rabbit hole of conspiracy. And what often is conspiracy is actually really true. I'll just put that out there. And say that.
I mean, I always say, I'm like, conspiracy exists for a reason.
It does, and there's a lot of stuff that I have talked about for the last 20 years that people have been like, you're crazy, or you can't say that out loud. Like, people would think you're nuts. And COVID, and still now, Epstein files, like Harvey Weinstein, like when you look at the upper elites and you look at who the players are and who they're involved, and
they're like playing chess with what they're doing.
Yeah. And And there's a lot of stuff that people would rather believe is conspiracy because it makes you feel better at night.
Of course.
Right?
It's so
Like,
much easier to not acknowledge something that's actually happening.
Yeah. Especially when we talk about, celebrities that we really like, like Oprah. Like when I started talking about Oprah, which I grew up loving Oprah. I love Oprah.
Mm.
She's involved in some no bueno things. And literally I could connect the dots, in 10 minutes for people here. And it's not even that it's not my job. What I think is more important is that people learn how to critically think for themselves.
Totally. And ask questions.
Ask the questions
100%.
And go back and do the research. And maybe don't use Google. Go use a different engine that it's not controlled like what they want you to think, right? Literally do fact checking. It's not looking at one source. You have to look at multiple different sources. And I'm talking to somebody in media. That, as journalism, it's you don't just get one
that's why
source.
Journalism doesn't even exist anymore. Right. People don't do that anymore.
Right. Yeah. Well, they get killed for it.
Yeah.
If they do it, right?
Exactly.
And that begs the question
or they get fired.
Right.
Right here in our very own city.
Right. Exactly.
So that happens.
Yeah. All the time. Mm-hmm. And so you have to ask that question. It's why is it when you're actually upholding the ethics around journalism and critically thinking and getting multiple sources and pulling together the evidence that you just get wiped out? Mm-hmm. Right. And there's a main narrative across media that it's what they want you to believe. It's what they want you to think. And that repetition is very powerful, right?
And so it's also known as brainwashing.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Big time, So that's, the atrocity of looking at what's happening still in the downtown east side and what's happening in Canada. And even there's bills that we implemented at a federal level under the Harper government, a conservative government, that Justin Trudeau and his friends have tried to overturn and remove funding from certain bills. And literally, it just makes everything in my being go, why is that?
Yeah.
Why,
I wonder why
would you do that?
Yeah.
Right. And there are even there's boards that Trudeau has sat on with Epstein. That's facts. It's not my opinion. You can go look that up. That connect to the Penticton farm out in BC where the guy, took girls and prostitutes or not prostitutes, but they were calling them prostitutes, but girls that are trafficked and, in the sex industry, feeding them to pigs. There's a connection of Trudeau with them on one of his boards. Why is that? I don't think it's a coincidence what we're seeing right now with Trudeau coming out with children and abuse. And people are oh, no, that couldn't happen. No, it absolutely fucking does happen.
Yeah.
It's just because you're a leader of a country does not mean you're an angel.
I think if anything, that's all of this in the last few, I think I would say since COVID. Yeah. All of this has proven that the people who are the most powerful are the people that you have to trust the least.
I agree.
The least.
I agree.
They're the most toxic people.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more with what you just said. And even with the Trudeau thing, I haven't given any of my attention to it to go fact check it because one, I don't really need to. The point really for people is you should always err on the fact that it's true until it's not, as opposed to innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that, especially in this era.
Yeah.
It's
how sad is that?
It's very sad, it's very sad. But I think there's so many more dots that get connected that require us to hear something we don't like and go, okay, let's go find the truth on that. Mm-hmm. Right? As opposed to being okay, well, just wait to see what the media has to say. They're obviously going to wipe that. They're going to clear it and smear it and bury it. For the most part, that's probably what's going to take place.
What I do have hope in is that our generation is the generation of asking more of those questions and challenging things and being wait a minute, I'm not going to believe that. That's not, that doesn't add up, or questioning that. Yeah. Because I think our parents' generation were not of that mindset. Yeah.
No, at all. No. Especially, you
bless their hearts.
Bless their hearts. And, they also didn't have the internet.
Right.
And the access to information the way that we do.
100%.
And so even the word television programming, literally it's there to program you. Right? And that was using using a media source to be able to program people, to captivate them, to make them consume as well, to consume. Like the more time you're consuming means you have the less time to produce. And if you're not a producer, you have to become a slave to the system, meaning you have to be in a 9 to 5 because you're not producing. You're relying on somebody else to pay. And the more that you watch programming and you watch TV, you're entrenched in social media, the less money you'll make in your life. And that's like factual. Like there's crazy stats on like the increments of if you watch an hour or less TV a day, you'll make over 6 figures. That's
I believe that. It's wasted time. Yes, it's entertainment. Don't get me wrong. You need to decompress. And that's sometimes how people decompress.
Yeah.
But if you think about like time is so precious.
So precious.
And if you spend that time doing something to even like better yourself, whether that be read something, go for a walk, like even like go see your family, let's just say. Yeah. Like the difference between that level of like happiness, productivity, all of it is like that adds up.
Big time. There's also, you know, there's a chemical reaction that happens in your brain when you're in stillness, approaching boredom even. Like most people today cannot not be looking at something and to like put your phone
sitting
down.
In like with nothing.
Yeah. And just being like going for that walk, but not having anything in your ears, not having your phone in front of you, just actually being with self. There's a chemical release that starts to happen after you push through the uncomfortableness because you have to go through that first.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's actually where you start having creativity. There's a reason why people say they have some of their best thoughts in the shower. Am I wrong? Isn't it true though?
That is true. That's very true.
You know how many people are like, I had the best idea that came to me when I was in the shower.
My eureka moment came to me when I was scrubbing my ass.
Right. You know, or like you'll hear other women saying like when they're like cleaning the house, right? You can't be on a phone. Like sure, you can put your headphones in, but like it's amazing how many people will say, I had this brilliant idea come to me when I was in the shower. Okay, yeah, why? Because you're forced to be in that space. Yeah. You can't do anything else except be with yourself. You can't be on a phone. You're not listening to anything unless maybe you have music coming through your thing. I know we all have fancy bathrooms these days, but like in theory, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's where your creativity gets to be reborn when you push past the uncomfortableness, right? And when we're still. But if you're always consuming, you have the biggest lack of ability to become a producer.
I always say like, I mean, in my job, it requires like creativity, of course. And when I'm feeling like burnt out, like I'm just like being like a machine, not like really using that part of my brain. The first thing I do is like book a beach vacation because that's where I can fully unwind, like be amongst an ocean. And I feel like, and I come back being like a whole different person of like that 100%. Being like reignited of like just sitting, doing nothing, going for walks, being in that air and like reset does so much.
Which is called unplugging.
Yes.
Right? You're unplugging. Again, it's like, you know, you're taking yourself out of that environment. You're on your phone less, probably not fully off of it, but like you're on it
significantly
a lot
less.
Yeah, you know, and just like you said, you're recharging. Also, your environment is everything. Like being around frequency of water, the sun, all of that is so important, you know.
Is that perhaps why you moved to Costa Rica?
It's a huge part.
Yeah,
it is a huge part. I mean, I moved in 2021. I'm literally, you know, I mentioned earlier, I'm like one that had like, where's the tin hat, you know? And so I was one of those people in 2020 using my platform because as I'm sure you all can see now, I'm a huge advocate for freedom, period. Like freedom of mobility, freedom of speech, freedom of choice, freedom of thought. And so anytime somebody comes where that is conflicting to that, I'm like, oh, you just woke up the beast. Like I'm mama bear, like especially now I'm also a mom. You know, I wasn't in 2020. But that is like everything in my core is like if you were born, your birthright is freedom. And so to be restricted and told, you could do whatever you want as long as it's your choice. I shouldn't actually say that. You shouldn't necessarily do whatever you want within reason, but like overall. Yeah. Right? Like if you have tested it, you've thought it through, and that is what you believe and that's what's right for you, take the thing, do the thing, say the thing, whatever it is, right? Like be true to yourself.
Yeah.
When you're being forced to do not say, take, like, no, thank you. I'm not that girl. And so much so that I decided, I was like, I actually won't live in a country that doesn't align with like my values anymore, because Canada changed so quickly.
Well, you and so many other people. I would love to know the number of people that left Canada and the growing number of, and I read reports of this all the time. I don't have an accumulative number, but what I do know is more and more people are leaving the country for that reason.
We had, last year was the largest exodus of Canadians migrating out of this country. I think it was over 100,000 people that left.
Wow.
And that is like noting that they left. Like I'm not in that statistic.
Yeah.
As much as I left, I'm still a tax resident of Canada. So I wouldn't be a part of that statistic. So there's many of me's who left and are there. They might still be tax residents of Canada or going back and forth. You know, so that number is, for argument's sake, is actually probably bigger than that, larger than that. Yeah. You know, and Costa Rica was that destination where it was like, you know, we're supporting freedom. And it wasn't even, here's the thing for me that I love about Costa Rica. Costa Rica hosts one of the 5 blue zones in the world. Okay, so anybody that doesn't know what a blue zone, it means where people live the healthiest and live the longest. Okay?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah. Like there's one in Sardinia.
Yes, that's right? The one that I know. And they have the oldest, like the longest living.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. They have the most 100-plus-year-olds.
Centurions.
Yeah, centurions.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think a lot of people know because what's his face did that documentary. Yeah.
Was it Zac Efron?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched it. It was really good.
So he put Sardinia on the map,
totally.
Right? Because he like went there with that.
It
so
also is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen.
It's stunning. Yeah. So Costa Rica's a host of one of those 5. And which means culturally, belief system wise, you have a country that supports high vibrational activities and holistic practices, eating whole foods and healthy foods, not spray foods. Like, you know, you really have, for the most part, you have an ecosystem of people that live very differently than the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. And so that was a very big driver for me, outside of the yoga and the sound baths and, you know, vibrational and the IV injections and all the healthy, great things. It was like, this isn't just something that's like being injected into this country. It's actually from the inside out. It's the essence
of the country.
You know, and so I moved there, and I mean, you hear it all the time. Like, I mean, you know, like in Canada, people are like, I'm so seasonally depressed, and like, you know,
it's a real thing.
It's hard even now. Like
it's freaking brutal.
My partner's like in February, halfway through. He's like, well, 2 more weeks of this and then we'll be done. I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, it snows in this country until May. He's like, no, it doesn't. I'm like, babe, you're like delusional. Like, I don't know.
But it's gotten worse though.
It has gone worse. It's gotten
worse.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, like we've seen it.
Yeah. It snowed 3 times in April, and on May 2nd, he literally texted me. He was like, I debated whether or not to even text you telling you this. He was like in Caledon for work. And
they're getting hit there too.
Right? He's like, I don't want to text you this. I debated, but it's snowing here. And I just wrote him back like May 2nd, wink face. I'm like, note the date. Just a reminder. Yeah. But your environment matters, right? Like it matters. It carries a frequency, and it is so hard to stay positive and to be in a high vibration when your environment doesn't support that. You know, and I talk to people about this a lot, even like with their own personal space. You know, I think sometimes people think like, well, when I make more money, I'll do X, Y, and Z. And I talk in real estate a lot that luxury is a mindset. And the difference between luxury is just adding a 0. You can go from 100,000 and, you know, you add it, well, a couple of zeros in that case, but you add a 0 and it dramatically changes. Yeah. And so it's a mindset shift. How many people, we all know somebody who has a lot of money, and you would say that they're rich, but they're really trashy rich. Like they're not actually like what you would say luxurious or wealthy. Mm-hmm. You know, they look like Gucci vomited on them, and like the way that they talk and they carry themselves, and you're like,
for sure.
Oh, like no. Whereas, you know,
it's like cheap wealth.
Cheap wealth, right? Yeah. You know, or somebody who will go out and spend like I'm maybe I'll give you a confession, a fashion confession here. I have a few close friends that know this about me. I love getting these runners from, in the day it was from Ardennes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you get like 2 for $8.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Like, I freaking love them. And even like now, like on Temu or Shein, like sometimes I have these like funky little runners.
Same.
And I get people, I'm not wearing them actually today, but I have like these ones that they're silver with like rhinestones on them.
Cute.
They're $25.
Yep.
And every single time I wear them, women always come up to me being like, oh my God, I love your shoes. Where are they from?
Yeah.
You know? And it's about how you wear it, right? Like
100%.
and that's
I
where
always
going back
say
to that mindset piece, right? Like part of luxury, it
you can
starts
make
in
something
your mind.
look expensive.
100%. And it's how you wear it. When
Yeah.
you're confident and how you hold yourself, how you talk, how you conduct yourself, you can make $25 shoes look like you spent $1,200 on them, you know, like very, very easily.
Totally.
And so your environment is the same way. It's like just if you don't live in a multi-million-dollar place does not mean that you shouldn't feel like that within your place.
Yeah.
Especially today. Like you can go to like
HomeSense,
right? Like
hashtag not sponsored, but
yeah, right? Yeah. But should be HomeSense,
I know,
right?
But it's true. It's true.
Yes.
You can.
There's no excuse. And it's like remove the curtains. If you have curtains in your place, like you were in the 80s, like remove the curtains, okay? First off, it's not going to sell well. Remove the curtains, you know, but like bring in the light. If you have dark spaces, paint them white, paint them a light taupe, something. Brighten up your environment because again, it's like it goes back to just even money, the energetics of money. And we talked about this earlier. To those who have given much, much is expected. That's your responsibility. If you can't be trusted with a little, you won't be trusted with a lot. And so it's like even in your own little environment, like how are you showing up for yourself in that space and creating a luxurious, feel-good, wholesome, abundant environment? If you're schlepping around in your place and it's messy and like dark and gloomy, it's going to take you
That filters in.
It filters in everywhere, you know? And it will be, it's not impossible, but it's very not likely. The probabilities are low that you're actually going to move out of that space and expand into bigger and better, you know? So it starts there. So it's like do with what you can in your own environment. And then it's like around you. Like if you're stuck in Canada, it's like, oh my God, like go get red light therapy. Go get like red light, do something, right?
Yeah. But and on that note, do something.
Yeah.
I also think most people feel like they can't. Like they're stuck. Like I was born here. This is it. It's too hard to move. It's too hard to like people, I think, limit themselves to happiness.
Yeah.
Based on like their own brain telling them that's too hard or that seems impossible. Like anything is impossible.
Yeah.
People prove that every single day. They can pick up and move somewhere. If you really want something to happen,
100%.
you can find a way.
Yeah.
So like, don't sit around and bitch about it. If you really want to make a change in your life, do something to change it.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
100%.
You know?
I mean, a couple of things. What you focus on, you attract. What you focus on expands. So if that's your mentality of like bitching and complaining, just guess what? You're calling it in. Like you're actually calling it in. You know, when you talk to, not even just like myself, when you talk to people who have 10x, 100x what I've done, my wealth, your wealth, who are the multimillionaires and billionaires on the planet, and people say to them like, what's your secret to success? Many of them will tell you that it starts in your mind first. Mindset is the differentiator. Like literally 20% is the output, 80% is your mind.
That's wild.
And it is. It's literally, I can't even tell you if I had $1 for every time I've heard a billionaire, multimillionaire say that, I'd be really rich. I'm telling you, like they will tell you 80% is your mindset, and that's where it starts. And I think many of us, myself included at different times in my life, you think like, you're doing the affirmations, you've done the vision board, you're doing the journaling, and you've done it, or you've done it once or a few times, and then it's like set it, forget it. That's not how this works. Like at each new stage of your life, never mind new stage of success, your mind is going to tell you to be afraid because that keeps you safe, to keep you in your comfort zone. And so the mindset it's a muscle. You have to be able to flex it, and you have to continue to work out. Like, you know, I mean, I'll use myself as an example. Like before I had my baby and I'm in the gym 5 days a week, and I have very strong muscles and I'm lifting heavy, you know, like, I don't know, 250 pounds on my leg press or whatever it is. And I'm in like really, really great shape. Well, if I don't keep doing that, which I haven't been able to keep doing that, you look like how I do right now.
You look
No. I'm not, I'm okay. I know where I am right now. And mentally, I know that. But I'm using me as an example, because I know that you can't rely on, well, that's what I used to do before I was pregnant. Okay, well, but that's not how you look right now. You're right. It's not, because I stopped doing the practice. And I think I use fitness, and I'm using myself as an example because I think that's the most relatable for people. Like, it's like when you go
because you can actually see the results.
You can
That's
see
why
the
sometimes you
results,
can't
or the lack
physically
thereof.
see
Correct.
the results. But
Yeah.
with regards to fitness, you can.
Correct.
For sure.
You know, and so it's like when you only go to the gym for 30 days and you don't get a result, you can't stop there. It's like, you know, if that's what you're expecting, it's like, it's years and years of refinement and dedication. And so like when you look at people's your own fitness journey yourself is a great example of why you have to continue doing mindset work, because the moment you stop, you go backwards. And so that's why I'm using myself as an example. I'm okay with it. It's like, if you go and look at me, like, you know, a few years ago, it's like, wow, yeah, she looks a little different. It's like, yeah, well, I had a baby, and life is, I'm tweaking it right now to get back.
You're in
to get
postpartum,
better.
girl. Give yourself a chance.
I'm in postpartum, you know, but I think it's a really powerful analogy, because this is, you can't do something for even a period of time. Like, I've worked out for like so much in my life, sometimes harder than others. At one point I was like going for a stage, and then I decided, like, hormone wise, I didn't want to do that. But when you look at the compound effect of like when you start doing that work, for example, because of how much I've worked out in my life, I have better muscle memory built into my body, that once I'm actually back in it the way that I used to, it's going to be easier for me
100%,
right, to get
100%.
back to what I want, and even better than that. No different than the mindset work. We all go through it. Like, we're all human. Like, and I go through it right now with just even with what I'm dealing with. It's like my brain will be like, oh, you're this and that, you need to be doing this, and I'm like, no, I'm Gucci, like, you know, to an extent. And I know I have the training to get my mind back to like where it needs to be, so that I'm not in victim mode. I'm not in woe as me. Like, I'm actually in control of me, right? So if you're complaining and you're in that situation, you get to actually control, to be like, I'm gonna have a mindset shift and change it. Like, how can you flip the script?
Yeah.
You know, but you have to have that discipline. It's a muscle flex.
I was just gonna say, a lot of the time comes with discipline.
Yeah.
And even patience, I would say.
Yeah.
Like you said, after 30 days, if somebody doesn't see a result, it's like, I'm over it.
Yeah.
After a week, if someone doesn't see a result, I'm over it.
Well, because we're like
we're
instant
impatient.
now,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
everyone wants it now. It's like, and you're seeing this even too, right? Like, what can I take to just like have things shred?
Oh, that is so problematic of where we're at in
Right?
the world too. That's a whole other podcast as well.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. There's no get quick to like building your mindset. You know, it is
Work.
It's work, and it's a daily commitment, you know, and 3 steps forward, maybe 1 step back, and you just have to you have to keep going.
As
you
long
know?
as it's the
but
one
it's
step
possible.
back.
Like, you know, I'll share with you another personal, like, real story from me just on that, what you said. Like, people look at other people and go, I wish I had that. You know, I wish I could do that. Number one, you can do that. You've just chosen to not do it. 2, most people aren't willing to do what it takes in order to have the life or to do the thing that person is doing. You know, you have to be willing to do that.
Totally.
And when you realize you actually can have it too. I have a girlfriend of mine. Her name's Dana. She's in Costa Rica. She left probably in 2018. This is like pre-COVID. She like moved down there. And or maybe it was 2019. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was before COVID. And I remember like watching her on Instagram. We have very similar lives. We're both like in business. We both started nonprofits, like, you know, and she just like one day was like, I'm going to go down to Costa Rica for like this is what happened. She went down for like a few months, and then COVID happened. She got stuck there. Then she just decided, she's like, I'm going to live here. I'm not coming back to Canada. Like, that's it. Like, literally flipped the script. Went on this whole Instagram journey story of like, I'm not coming back to Canada. Here's why I'm building this life here, blah, blah. And I remember literally being like, I'm not jealous. I'm happy for her, but I'm like, I really wanted that. I was like, I want that. Like, you know?
Totally.
And literally it was probably like a couple months into seeing her stuff where I was like, why the fuck can't I do that? Like, what? I have all ability, all capability. And if you don't have the resources, everything is figure outable. That's what I always say to people. Everything's
We're so lucky
figure-outable.
we live in a generation where that's the case.
Right.
It's at our fingertips.
It's at our fingertips, like figure it out. Doesn't mean you're going to have the exact same lifestyle here versus there. No, and trust me, you don't want that. Like what I drive here and what I drive in Costa Rica is very different for good reason.
Yeah.
Like
you're going to get robbed.
Yeah. Literally.
If you bring that Benz over.
I'm like, it's a Porsche, but yes. Sorry. I'm not a Benz girl. I'm a car girl, so I had to
I love
had
a
to
Porsche. That's
specify
like
that.
my dream car.
Yeah.
I love a Porsche.
So I had to throw that in there. But like, I drive a big Avalanche pickup truck down there.
Love that.
Right? And it's like, I always think like people think I'm like probably going to be like this like female like drug dealer when I come out of the car because it's like tinted. I got big rims on my black rims on my truck, but it's like I have a pickup truck down there. Like the life you want, you have to be willing to trade and sacrifice certain things for, and that was like part of it. It was like, in the beginning I was like, well, my car. I'm like, yeah, but you're like living in Costa Rica and like how much
Who cares
better?
what you drive?
Right.
Yeah.
Literally, but even that people like you would be probably surprised, amazed, maybe not so much shocked as to how many people come to Costa Rica and after like a month of being there, they just like start complaining. Internet always goes out. The roads are so bumpy. Everything's so far to get to. And it's like complain. And it's like, but you asked for this life.
Yeah.
Remember? Like you asked for it.
That's human nature. That is
It's
pure human nature that we'll find something to complain about, to find wrong.
Right.
Because it's easier to be negative than it is to be like, oh, that doesn't matter.
time.
Whatever.
I know. Yeah.
It's wild.
I know.
Shay, I feel like I can talk to you about a million different things, but I know we have to wrap this up. But really quick, for people who are watching and listening, where can they find what you're doing, what's coming up? Yeah. Tell us.
Best place to connect with me is on Instagram. Okay. So just Shay Invidia. I'm in my DMs as much as I can be. It might take me a little bit to get back, but I always respond to my DMs. So connect with me there. And then everything's there, like my real estate stuff. I have my podcast that's there. So that's probably the best landing place. And then, come and listen to the podcast because we dive into so much good stuff around females, understanding money, how to make it work for you, wealth, wellness, and it's called the Wealthy CEO, like self-leading your life, like how to do that. So it's really a passion of mine. I feel so many women today really, you might have a business, but they don't really understand their numbers, that they don't know how to expand their money, So we talk a lot about turning income into assets and how to build generational wealth. So come over, check it out.
That's important.
Yes.
Thank you so much
Thanks
for
for
sharing
having me.
everything. This has been so much fun. And we'll have you back.
Yeah, I would love to. Thanks.
Thanks.